Imagine a frozen runway in the dead of a Siberian winter, 1968. A sleek black jet, its afterburners roaring like thunder, blasts off into the night sky faster than anything the world has ever seen. It vanishes into the Arctic darkness, clocking speeds that shatter every known barrier. But here's the chilling part. This wasn't just any plane. It was a Soviet ghost machine, built to outrun missiles, evade radar, and rewrite the rules of aerial supremacy. The CIA knew about it. They obsessed over it, and they were terrified. Because if America didn't get its hands on one fast, the balance of power would tip forever. That jet was the MiG-25 Foxbat, the fastest production aircraft ever built. It hit Mach 3.2 over 2,400 miles per hour in level flight, turning the sky into its playground. Pilots who flew it described a cockpit shaking like it was about to disintegrate, engines screaming at the edge of destruction. But why did the Soviets pour billions into this beast? And how did the United States, in a stroke of audacious espionage, steal one right out from under their noses? This is the story of speed, secrets, and the Cold War's most brazen heist, a tale that reveals how one pilot's defection changed history, exposed Soviet lies, and forced America to rethink everything. Let's rewind to the ashes of World War II, when the world first heard whispers of something monstrous brewing in the Soviet Union. It was 1947, and American pilots in Europe were buzzing with rumors. Strange silhouettes streaking across the horizon at impossible speeds. You'd spy planes. The high-flying eyes of the CIA started picking up grainy photos of massive engine tests near Moscow. The Soviets, humiliated by the war's end, Stalin watching American B-29 bombers dominate their skies, vowed revenge. They weren't building fighters for dogfights anymore. They wanted interceptors that could swat down the U.S. bomber fleets like flies. Enter the MiG Design Bureau, led by the brilliant Artem Mikoyan and Mikhail Gurevich. Their previous hits, the MiG-15 and MiG-21, had bloodied American noses in Korea and Vietnam. But the Foxbat was different, a quantum leap. Engineers slaved away in secret factories, welding titanium airframes, because aluminum would melt at those velocities. They stole German rocket tech from Peenemünde, the Nazis' wonder weapon labs, and fused it with Stalin's iron will. By 1960, prototypes were screaming through test flights, hitting Mach 3, and leaving sonic booms that rattled windows for miles. The world got its first real glimpse during the 1967 Middle East War. Operation Rimmon 20, Israeli Mirage fighters tangled with Egyptian MiG-25s over the Suez. The Mirages couldn't touch them. The Foxbats climbed to 80,000 feet, vanished on radar, and returned unscathed. Panic rippled through Tel Aviv, then Washington. The CIA's photo interpreters pored over blurry recon shots, a needle-nosed monster with massive intakes, stubby wings, and engines that glowed like hellfire. It's a Mach 5 killer, one analyst claimed. President Lyndon Johnson slammed his fist on the Oval Office desk. We need eyes on this thing now. But the truth was murkier, buried in Soviet paranoia. The MiG-25 wasn't the invincible super bomber hunter everyone feared. It was a desperate response to America's B-70 Valkyria, a canceled supersonic bomber project that had the Kremlin sweating. The Foxbat's mission: sprint to 100,000 feet, unleash radar-guided missiles, and dash home before anything could catch it. No stealth, no agility, just raw, brutal speed. Its R-15 engines guzzled fuel like a bonfire, limiting range to a suicidal 1,000 miles. Pilots trained in isolation, sworn to secrecy under threat of the Gulag. One wrong word, and families disappeared. Across the ocean, the U.S. Air Force scrambled. The SR-71 Blackbird was their answer, but it was years away. Lockheed's Skunk Works begged for funding, but Congress balked at the price tag. Meanwhile, intelligence reports painted the Foxbat as unstoppable, hypersonic, nuclear-armed, ready to vaporize NATO bases. The fear was real. Geopolitics hung by a thread. A single MiG-25 squadron could neutralize Europe's air defenses in minutes, tipping the scales toward Moscow in any European showdown. Then came the defections, whispers of discontent from the Iron Curtain. Soviet pilots, isolated in far-flung bases like Egypt and Iraq, where they advised allies, heard Voice of America broadcasts. They learned of blue jeans, rock and roll, and defector payouts rumored at $1 million. The KGB watched them like hawks, but cracks formed. In 1966, a Syrian MiG-21 pilot bolted to Israel with his jet intact. The Israelis handed it over, and suddenly America knew every rivet on Soviet fighters. But the Foxbat, untouchable, enter Viktor Belenko, a 29-year-old lieutenant in the Soviet Air Force's elite PV Ostrany Unitaire Defense of the Motherland, stationed at Chigayevka Airfield near Vladivostok. He flew the MiG-5PD, the latest reconnaissance variant. Belenko wasn't a spy or ideologue. He was a farm boy from Smolensk, bright but frustrated. Promotion stalled. His MiG-21 languished in storage, and he watched officers skimp perks while he scraped by. Rumors of Western wealth gnawed at him. One night in 1976, tuning into forbidden radio, he heard tales of freedom, the seed planted. By summer 1976, Belenko plotted his escape, but stealing a Foxbat, insane. The plane weighed 64.0 pounds fully loaded, needed 10 miles to take off, and guillotined anyone ejecting at Mach 2. Its avionics were primitive analog gauges. No heads-up display and classified manuals were locked in safes. Belenko memorized what he could, sketching schematics on cigarette papers. He picked September 6th, a Monday when lax weekend security lingered. His plan: fly low across the Sea of Japan to Hakodate, Japan-US allies with a civilian airport. No return. That morning dawned humid, tense. Belenko suited up, heart pounding. Ground crew prepped his MiG-25, serial number 715, for a routine training flight. He climbed the ladder, strapped in, and fired the Tumansky R-15 turbojets. They whined to life, shaking the earth. Tower cleared him for takeoff. At 11:36 a.m., he thundered down the runway, pulling up into a shallow climb. Radars in Vladivostok tracked him lazily, another training hop. But Belenko banked south, hugging the treetops at 100 feet. Alarms blared in the cockpit, low altitude warning. He ignored them. Over the Sea of Japan, he pushed the throttles to full military power. Then afterburner. The Foxbat surged to Mach 2.3, windows frosting from the heat. Sweat poured down his face. The G-forces pinned him like a vice. Soviet interceptors scrambled to late MiG-23s from nearby. Bases couldn't match his speed. Belenko flew nap of the earth, dodging patrols, fuel gauges plummeting. 2 hours in, he spotted Hokkaido's coast. Hakodate runway stretched below, civilian airliners scattering like pigeons. He lined up, gear down, but overshot, brakes scorched, tires burst. The MiG skidded 1,000 yards, nose crumpling into the dirt. Belenko kicked the canopy, tumbled out, and ran hands up, yelling "Polichesky," political defector. Japanese police swarmed him, stunned. Overhead, F for Phantoms from Misawa Air Base circled protectively. The heist was complete. America had its prize. Word rocketed to Washington. CIA Director George Bush mobilized Operation DJ, named after Belenko's radio hobby. A C-5 Galaxy cargo plane, escorted by F-111s, landed in Japan amid diplomatic frenzy. The Soviets demanded their jet back, screaming espionage. Japan stalled, citing technical inspections. Under floodlights, U.S. engineers swarmed the wreck like ants on sugar. They dismantled wings, yanked black boxes, photographed every inch. Belenko, debriefed in a safe house, spilled everything. It's fast, but fragile. Engines overheat after 10 minutes at max. Radar, laughable by your standards. The revelations shattered myths. The MiG-25 wasn't stainless steel, it was cheap nickel steel, heavy and heat-resistant, but radar reflective as a barn door. No data link for missiles. No beyond visual range weapons. Top speed, Mach 3.2 once, but routinely limited to Mach 2.8 to avoid disintegration. America exhaled. Their F-15 Eagle, still in testing, would smoke it in a dogfight. The F-14 Tomcat's Phoenix missile outranged anything the Foxbat carried. But the real gold? Technology. Soviet titanium welding techniques stolen from the West. ironically boosted U.S. programs. The SR-71 got stealthier radomes, cruise missiles mimicked its inertial nav. Back in Moscow, fury erupted. Leonid Brezhnev purged the Air Force Command. Engineers executed or exiled. Belenko, branded a traitor, his family interrogated. He got asylum, a new identity as Frank Reed, and a quiet life in California, 6 figures in consulting fees. The Foxbat lived on, upgraded to MiG-31s that patrolled the Arctic into the 2020s. But the defection exposed Soviet bluffs, eroding their aura of invincibility. If this tale of high-stakes theft and shattered illusions is already blowing your mind, take a second to like the video and subscribe. It really helps the channel get these stories to more people. Yet the Foxbat's shadow stretched further into the realms of money and power that fueled the arms race. Billions poured into its development, 20 billion rubles by some estimates, equivalent to $300 billion today. Factories in Gorky churned out 1,186 airframes, exported to India, Iraq, Syria, even Libya. Gaddafi's pilots flew them against U.S. Navy F-14s over the Gulf of Sidra in 1981. Testing Reagan's resolve, one Libyan Foxbat splashed by a Tomcat's Sidewinder, proving Belenko right. Speed alone couldn't win. Geopolitics twisted around it. India bought 10 in 1981, dubbing them Foxkillers, using them to counter Chinese threats. They tangled with Pakistani F-16s in 2019, echoes of 1976. Iraq's Saddam Hussein deployed them in the Gulf War, only for coalition stealth to render them obsolete. The Foxbat became a symbol of Soviet overreach, a sprint car in a marathon world, burning cash while the U.S. built versatile fleets. Hidden facts emerged from declassified files. The MiG-25's dash speed warped, its airframe rivets popped, panels buckled. One test pilot, Alexander Fedotov, pushed it to 123,523 feet in 1977. World record still standing. But at Mach 3.2, fuel boiled and the tank's hydraulic lines burst. It was a one-trick pony, designed for 1970s threats that never materialized. America, learning from the steel, pivoted to stealth and precision. F-117 Nighthawks beat to spirits, winning wars without supersonic bravado. Technology evolution accelerated. The C-5 airlift of the MiG-25's fuselage to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio took 64 hours of disassembly. Engineers marveled at the brute force design, massive fins for stability, no fly-by-wire elegance. It influenced the MiG-29 and Su-27, but the real legacy? Humbling superpowers. The U.S. shelved costly SR-71 upgrades, focusing on F-22s. Soviets bankrupted themselves chasing ghosts. Fast forward to today, and the Foxbat's DNA pulses in modern jets. Russia's MiG-31BM carries hypersonic Kinzhal missiles, menacing NATO from the Barents Sea. India's upgraded ones patrol the Himalayas. Drones like the RQ-1800 indirect debts lessons in high-altitude recon. But climate change adds irony. Melting Arctic ice opens new routes, where Foxbat's successors could dominate. Imagine 2030. Hypersonic passenger jets crossing the Atlantic in 2 hours. Born from MiG-25 extremes, space planes like reaction engines Skylon trace routes to its heat management. Yet dangers lurk. China's J-20 stealth fighters eye similar speeds. Russia's avant-garde gliders hit Mach 27. The steel taught us speed wins battles, but strategy wins wars. Power plays persist. In 2022, Russian MiG-31s shadowed Western aid planes over the Black Sea, flexing Cold War muscle. The U.S. responds with NGAD 6th Gen fighters, blending Foxbat speed with invisibility. Money drives it. Lockheed's F-35 program costs $1.7 trillion. Dwarfing Soviet excesses, geopolitics, Taiwan Strait tensions simmer, where a modern Foxbat could shift tides. Most people don't know this. Belenko's defection averted a potential arms spiral. Without it, America might have rushed flawed programs, bleeding treasure. Instead, they dissected the truth, innovated smarter. Victor lived quietly until 2023, whispers of his passing at 75. A free man. Legacy etched in steel. The future, hypersonics rule. DARPA's HAWC missiles scream at Mach 5+, evading defenses. Boeing's hypersonic tests echo Foxbat roars. But ethics haunt us, autonomous swarms. I piloted interceptors, will we steal those necks? The MiG-25 wasn't just a jet, it was a mirror, reflecting humanity's rush toward the sound barrier and beyond. Now the real question is, in a world racing toward Mach 10 weapons, would you trust the skies to those who steal victory first? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more stories like this unveiling the tech, secrets, and power grabs shaping tomorrow, subscribe, because what's coming next will shock you even more.